Recall the last victory for the winningest brand in road racing history, Porsche. Today, Porsche is back up front at Road America, seeking a Camel GT victory in the absence of the all-conquering Eagles from series-leading Toyota. They'll have competition from Nissan and Chevrolet at the front of a field that also offers a war in the Exxon Supreme GT as Tom Kendall leads Ford against Oldsmobile.
Got my pal Tommy Kendall, a little bucket and an umbrella and a little shovel so that when he's off in the corner in the sandbox watching us, he'll have something to do.
ESPN, the world leader in motorsports, welcomes you to the vacation paradise of central Wisconsin, to a 4-mile piece of road that makes up one of America's most beautiful and certainly fastest road racing circuits, Road America. Welcome to the Piggly Wiggly Grand Prix of Road America. Hello once again, everyone. I'm Bob Varsha, along with ESPN road racing analyst David Hobbs. The big news this weekend, defending IMSA champion Toyota's winning streak will come to a close at 14. You see, you cannot win if you are not on site. Dan Gurney's All-American Racers team has chosen to take a sabbatical this weekend, and David, it has had a very positive impact on this field.
Well, certainly, Bob. As you said, 14 wins in a row. The Toyota team just proved to be so powerful that definitely kept some teams away. Well, when they heard they weren't coming, here they are. Joest has got 2 cars here. The Gunnar Porsche here. Obviously, the Bell Moretti cars here, as usual. So I think we're in for a pretty good GTP race this afternoon, despite the fact that the Toyotas aren't here.
We have lots of other cars, 44 in all, in no fewer than 8 categories. Some are fast, some are not so fast, and that will make for big closing speeds on this very quick circuit.
Well, it does, Bob, but I remember when I first went to Le Mans 30 years ago, you had lots of different classes, and IMSA always used to do it, but as times went very well and they could split the cars up, that was fine. But now you've got to put them all back there on the track, and Elkhart Lake is probably the place to do it. It's wide, it's fast, and it's really easy to pass here, too, so it shouldn't be a problem.
And it will definitely make for great action on the racetrack. Now, we've already had an important driver change. Marty Reed is standing by with the news. Marty?
Well, the fortunes of the Joest Porsche team got a big boost this morning when John Paul Jr. moved from the 66 car, the Gunnar Porsche, into the number 77 car. Now, that car obviously is not up to snuff. They don't know exactly what's wrong, so you joined this team.
Well, we did have a problem in qualifying yesterday with the Gunnar car, and Charles is going to start it and see how it runs, and I'm going to start this car, and after the first fuel stop, we'll evaluate how the 66 car is.
All right, a lot of black clouds rolling in, and we know what you can do in the rain. Are you praying for it?
I really am. I think we've had some good luck with rain, and obviously it's a great equalizer, and we can do well with it.
Well, I want you to pan down, and I want you to show these feet. They do not have flippers on them, but they might as well. This guy can fly when it's wet.
All right, thank you, Marty. Now, there is the number 9 Acura Spice, a Camel Light machine for our pole sitter, Bob Earl, sharing with Bob Shader today. They are on pole for the first time since the 24 Hours of Daytona, breaking a 6-race pole streak for Parker Johnstone, who will start at mid-pack in his Acura Spice. Now, we also have the Exxon Supreme GTS Series in action here today. Marty Reed is standing by with the pole sitter in that class, Darren Brassfield.
Well, Darren Brassfield certainly either knows the track here at Road America or his team knows setup, because he literally was under the weather all week long with a bad back, a little bit of the flu. Jumps in the car just one time, you put it on the pole. My question, though, is, other than congratulations, how is the back, and are you going to be able to go the distance? Because I know they were trying to locate Dorsey Schrader to come in here and relieve.
Yeah, they were, but right now the plan is that Lee White and Paul have given me the green light to go the whole distance. And, you know, yesterday was just was a great day for me, because all I had to do was show up and drive the car. And like you said, Scott Pruitt has been in my car all week. He did an excellent job setting the car up, and having guys, it's your backup guy, like a guy like Scott Pruitt. You know, you can't ask for a better backup guy.
All right, how much pain are you in?
Well, the pain is not as bad as the numbness. I've lost the feeling in my from my right foot and the ankle down, and I really don't know where the positioning in the throttle, so I don't have any feeling of the pedal other than wide open and not wide open, and I think that is the biggest trouble. So right now I've had to pick up a new style of driving, which is driving with my left foot as the brake, and that's been difficult.
Well, it wasn't too difficult, guys, because he's sitting on the front row of GTS competition in the Exxon Supreme Series. Good luck out there.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Marty. 8 different classes of car about to go into competition. We're ready to fire them up, so let's go down to Mr. Jim Dickelman from sponsor Piggly Wiggly.
Drivers, start your engines.
And, ladies and gentlemen,
engines are fired. You're on board with Paul Gentilozzi. We're just moments from the start. We'll be back to review the course and bring you the starting lineup in just a moment. Stay with us.
Okay, 3 reasons not to buy BF Goodrich TA tires. The only hairpins you're comfortable with are the ones your grandmother uses. You get white knuckles on a dime store pony. You think 55 miles an hour is quite fast enough, thank you. BF Goodrich TA tires when you're ready to get serious.
Didn't I see you at a Honda dealer yesterday? Yeah, you were looking at that Accord. Well, you should know that in an independent 100,000-mile test, the Oldsmobile Achieva beat the Accord. And now you can buy an Achieva S with air, automatic, anti-lock brakes, and more for just $199 a month for 36 months. It's your choice.
This is not a test. It's not even a quiz. But it is an emergency. GSXRs are attacking, wreaking havoc in Daytona, Laguna Seca, and other strategic points around the country. You were instructed to go to your Suzuki dealer and get a GSXR for no money down. Repeat, no money down. But hurry, the end is near.
Tonight's ladies' night, and there's a special on Bud Light.
If you want great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light.
Oh, no, it's Ted from accounting.
This ESPN Speed World presentation is brought to you by Exxon 93 Supreme Gasoline. For high performance, rely on the Tiger. By Suzuki. Your Suzuki motorcycle dealer has the ride you've been waiting for and the financing to get it. And by Bud Light. If you want great taste that won't fill you up and never lets you down, make it a Bud Light. As you can see, the field is on its way around the 4 miles of Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. We're moments from the start of the IMSA Piggly Wiggly Grand Prix. Let's take a moment to ride with Paul Gentilozzi in the Exxon Supreme GTS Oldsmobile and take a look at the circuit, David.
Well, of course, the one thing about Road America here is that it is the most picturesque circuit in the whole country, set in just wonderful countryside up at Wisconsin as we go through turn 1. This is where A.J. Foyt slid off the road just a couple of years back and did so much damage to himself. As we go down into turn 2, now this is a very important corner. It's a downhill approach, it's a flat corner, but you really want to make a good exit because this leads onto that long, long back straight, which is slightly downhill. It has a very, very slight curve in here. The road drops away, and of course we're going to be very, very hard on the brakes into turn 5, which is where most of the crowd stand and also where we're going to get most of the overtaking action this afternoon. This is a second gear corner, as you can see, really sharp left-hander, and then the road swoops uphill, probably just snatch third, then back to second. You go hard on the brakes under this bridge for turn 6, another very tight left-hander. And the road unwinds here into turn 7, which is a fast sweeper. Use a short shift up before you get there, otherwise right about there you want to shift up. Again, a downhill approach to turn 8. As you can see here, hard on the brake, probably third gear, and lots of runoff area as we come up to the famed carousel. This is a 180-degree corner. Cars pick up speed all the way through. Davy Jones crashed there in the morning warm-up last year and took himself out of this race. As the cars exit here, snatch top gear and approach the kink. Davy Jones can tell us a bit about the kink as well.
We should point out that track record at the lower right-hand corner of your screen, set last year by Juan Manuel Fangio in the Toyota. 133.44 mile an hour average speed. They'll get up above 190 on some of these long downhill straightaways.
Exactly, and that was one of them there through Kettle Moraine, through the trees here. A big, steep cutting up to the penultimate corner. Now we're going to weave under this bridge. This is the traffic bridge into the infield. Very narrow here. You've got to get this little left-hander right.
This is where Paul Tracy, after sitting on pole for the IndyCar race last year, threw the car off the racetrack and into the fence.
Turn 11, the final corner. Again, very important because you've got a long uphill straight, so you must make a really good exit of that. You come up over the hill, pit entry on the right there, under the bridge, burst past the pit scene here at the start-finish line for another lap here on this great 4-mile track.
As you can see, the field making its way around. There goes Giampiero Moretti in his Nissan. Let's take this opportunity to review the entire lineup with our BF Goodrich starting grid. On the pole, the Porsche of German Manuel Reuter. Next to him, Wayne Taylor of South Africa in the normally aspirated big V8 Chevy GTP. Giampiero Moretti has the twin-turbo V6 Nissan on row 2. At his elbow, John Paul Jr., as you've heard, stepping over into the Porsche 962C from the Joest stables. Darren Brassfield is on pole in the GTS class in his old Cutlass. Next to him will be Tommy Kendall in the Mustang Cobra, Olds and Ford side by side at the start. On row 4, Scott Pruitt, driving one of 3 Olds Cutlass in the field. For his team leader, starting next to him, Paul Gentilozzi from Lansing, Michigan. Moving now to row 5, Johnny O'Connell in the Nissan 300ZX after a savage crash in the most recent round at Watkins Glen. Next to him will be the leader in the Camel Lights class, Bob Earl, in a V6 Acura Spice. Looking back through the rest of the field, Andy Evans will have one of 3 representatives in the World Sports Car class in this event. There you see Charles Morgan driving in GTO, Jay Cochran in the International GT class. Bill Auberlin on row 10 is the GTU pole sitter for 3-liter engines, non-turbocharged. And further back, we'll find the Chevrolet Corvette in the Invitational GT class, being driven by John Hiracy and Andy Pilgrim. 44 cars in all, running in 8 different classes, and will have a tremendous difference in closing speed between the quick ones and the slow ones. Very neatly arranged, the field side by side, just coming up over that brow. They'll be looking for a green flag from IMSA flagman Jim Sidley. Very slow. Reuter taking him to the flag, David.
Well, of course, he's got the turbocharged engine. No doubt he's got his left foot firmly planted on the brake pedal to keep that boost pressure up and the speed down to give him a good shot off the line.
Now, somebody's just pulling off as we go to the flag. The number 97 car of Butch Leisinger, a title contender in this class a year ago. Over the hill they go, and Reuter takes the green flag from Jim Sidley. We are underway. Wayne Taylor tucks in behind Moretti with that red and yellow Momo Nissan, and behind him, John Paul Jr. in the second white Porsche.
Boy, look at the three Gentilozzi cars there. The Oldsmobiles really fighting amongst themselves as we go on board with him. That was at turn 1, down to turn 2. Whoever's in front of him, that's Scott Pruitt, of course, doing a little bit of blocking as they come into this very important corner. Did Gentilozzi get off there quicker than Pruitt?
Now, you're the team leader. Your 2 cars are out in front of you. What do? You don't want to push anybody.
Well, you don't want anybody pushing anybody else up on the first lap. Moretti there getting very brave as he goes inside Wayne Taylor down to turn 5. This is what I said. This is where we're going to see a lot of the outbraking, overtaking this afternoon.
Manuel Reuter, the vastly experienced Le Mans veteran, opening up a huge gap over Moretti. We'll see if he can close up at all. He's got Wayne Taylor, John Paul Jr., and Darren Brassfield just behind him. Now, those GTS cars right there, those black Olds for Brassfield and the rest of the gang, they are very high-tech cars. Carbon fiber tubs, almost like GTP cars, but with the profile of a street car.
Well, they really are GTP cars under the skin. Very, very expensive formula, very effective, very high-tech, and very interesting for the technically minded. And, of course, they look like street cars. As we look at Wayne Taylor going around the carousel, down to the kink. Boy, oh boy, this kink is a real suck-up corner. Very, very fast. Very few of the corners here have got any camber to help you, and this is one of them. The fastest corner on the track, taking it around about 145, 150. A Along Kettle Moraine now. The road meanders down here. Although it's counted as a back straight. We see another overtaking attempt there. Oh, Wayne Taylor has to give way.
All Jr. goes underneath Wayne Taylor for third place. Now, Taylor has had an absolutely checkered season. He brings out that Danka Chevrolet GTP. Beautiful car, able in the series, but it's one mechanical failure after another that has pushed him back. Now, there is Parker Johnstone, the two-time defending class champion. Started 20th in this field. He is up to 12th, just one lap in.
Butch Leitzinger's car still parked at the side of the road there on the exit of turn 11. You hear that big V8 thundering along.
Now there you see Butch Leitzinger standing at the side of the track. There's his car. He had to pull it off on the pace lap. And now it looks like he's gesturing to the corner workers, trying to get some help. That's a V6 3-liter Nissan in the GTU car. If it was turbocharged, it would move up to the GTS class.
Parker Johnstone moving up past the 13 car of...
That's Jim Pace in a Mazda Kudzu. And here comes the nose-to-tail Oldsmobile clan. Darren Brassfield in 5, Scott Pruitt in 0, and Paul Gentilozzi in number 3. Behind them, Tommy Kendall in the lone Ford in the field.
Well, of course, that's one thing you asked about what are the team orders going to be. The team orders are somewhat dictated by the other team. I mean, if Tommy Kendall's going to be there giving him a hard time, no one's going to be able to give up any racing room to let somebody through just because he's the boss, because you've got to try and hold the other guy off as well.
Now, Tommy Kendall is the class leader in points going for the championship. Darren Brassfield is 4th behind defending champion Steve Millen and Johnny O'Connell from Nissan. Millen is not here after terrible injury suffered in the crash at Watkins Glen with his teammate Johnny O'Connell. But we're happy to say Millen is on the mend and he'll be back in competition soon. And it's a great opportunity today for Darren Brassfield to move up. Speaking of moving up, here comes Parker Johnstone. Mechanical troubles in qualifying relegated them to mid-pack, and now he is rocketing through the field. He just went around Andy Evans's world sports car chassis.
Manuel Reuter going under that very tricky bridge. That's where Paul Tracy went off last year, as you pointed out, around turn 11. And again, starting another lap, swooping up that hill. In the old days, cars used to get very light on the top of that crest. Not with the downforce they're generating now, they don't, I might add.
Now remember, Marty Reed told us at the top of the show there is a chance of rain. There are dark clouds overhead, no shadows to speak of on the racetrack, and rain could very easily change the whole complexion of this race. Manuel Reuter, however, is up and checked out.
Now then, Manuel Reuter, of course, for those who don't know, has had his turn behind the wheel of a Formula One car. I mean, this is no slouch. Manuel Reuter is a very, very experienced racing driver, and the course car is pulling out.
The safety car is on the track. We must have a car in a dangerous position. Yep, it's the 97 car of Butch Leitzinger. We'll take a timeout and be right back.
You can see it in their eyes. They're pushing to raise the benchmark of quality. And after 3 million miles of testing, the people of Exxon know Phase 4 gasoline offers the highest level of engine cleaning, all for one reason. For proven high performance you can rely on.
Let the tiger set you free. Rely on the tiger.
Recently, one of Subway's best customers suggested we offer our turkey breast sub with chips and a drink at a special price. He also suggested a name for this meal deal breakthrough: Abundant Food Consumables with potato wafers and enlarged fluid unit. Not bad, but we call it the Mass Quantities Meal Deal. It's for anyone who has a hearty appetite, or like my friend here, comes from France.
Get a Coneheads Collector Cup with a Mass Quantities Meal Deal at Subway, the place where fresh is the taste.
While supplies last.
See great athletic feats at this year's most important international amateur sporting event, the World University Games. Tomorrow afternoon, live on ESPN.
Welcome back to Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. There you see the number 97 GTU machine of Butch Leitzinger being towed away. That's the reason for our full course caution. We expect a green flag next time around. There is the field behind the safety car. Right now, let's get down to the pit lane where Marty Reed has more on a GTS story.
But
Johnny O'Connell has pulled the 76 Nissan 300ZX in, and it looks like one of the turbos is malfunctioning. The crew has shut the motor off, and they are going to work. We'll give you an update as soon as we can, but it looks like the dream of maybe bouncing back after that serious crash is going to go by the boards today for the Nissan team.
And that is a tough break. As mentioned, Steve Millen and Johnny O'Connell were in a good position to move up in the Exxon Supreme GTS class. It will not happen today. We have a green flag at Manuel Reuter in the number 7 Porsche. Rockets away from Gian-Piero Moretti's red and yellow Momo Nissan.
And right behind Gian-Piero Moretti is John Paul Jr. in the second Joest car. No doubt wishing to show Moretti and Derek Bell a thing or two, because he did such a great job for them at Sebring, and then he sort of quietly seemed to have got dropped from the team one way and another. And John Paul, as usual, has had his usual very, very mixed season, driving and not driving, and just one of those great talents that's been wasted.
There's a look at Manuel Reuter. Looks like former champ Chip Robinson, facially. Now we have 4 GTP cars going at it up front. Reuter, Moretti, John Paul Jr., and Wayne Taylor. Just behind them is a great battle in the GTS class between the 3 Oldsmobile cars and Tommy Kendall in the Ford.
Let's hope that Wayne Taylor has a better afternoon today than he's been having. Looked a bit twitchy there coming out of turn 6 though, didn't he? The front end of the car dancing around. Moretti looking like he's going to have a go down the inside of... No, this is turn 8. Makes you brave there, because there's lots and lots of run-off room, and no doubt we'll see some people out there on the green stuff.
Gian-Piero Moretti looking very racy, now 50-something years of age. The manufacturing magnate from Milan, Italy, has been involved in Camel GT racing on the IMSA trail for some 20 years. He drove Porsches for many years. This year he switched over to the Nissans that took Jeff Brabham to the series championship a few years ago.
Up to Canada corner at the end of the Kettle Moraine back straight. A bit of a runoff road there off to the right. We can't see it, but it's there in case the brakes give way on these cars. As we swoop up the S's here under the bridge. Very narrow and confining there, as you can see, and it's quite sharp under that bridge.
Around this sharp corner comes the battle for the leading Camel Lights. Bob Earl in the number 9 leading Parker Johnstone in the number 49 up from mid-pack. Now watch that red, white, and blue car at the back running second in GTU, former class chap Bob Leitzinger. Let's learn more about his son's situation from crew chief Carson Baird.
What happened with the 97 car, Carson?
Something broke in the drivetrain. We don't know exactly what.
Now, he did not complete one official lap, and you're going to switch him into the 95 car for points?
Yes, he never took the green. So he'll be able to get in Bob's car whenever we make a pit stop.
And he'll score points from there.
Exactly, yes.
Carson Baird trying to keep Butch Leitzinger in the run for the GTU championship, held 2 years ago by his father and last year by David Loring, driving for the same team. Now here's the lead battle in Camel Lights. Parker Johnstone goes underneath Bob Earl to take the point. Now Earl tries to come back up the hill.
I think Parker Johnston's got just too much of a lead as they go under the bridge there. Very hard to outbrake somebody from that far back. Through this fast left-hander, Parker Johnstone needs to maintain a lot of momentum through that corner to try and stay well in front as they go down to turn 8. Another favorite outbreaking spot.
Notice the graphics at 9th place. Everybody running for overall position in the races. Manuel Reuter puts those left side wheels off. They're also running for place in class. Each class will be scored separately, 20 points to win.
This is a tremendous battle as they come into the Canada corner. There is your first 3 cars in the race, all GTP cars. Number 77 there is John Paul Jr. This is the race for the lead in the GTS, the Exxon Supreme GTS. And look at how Tommy Kendall in that white Ford is catching up with, it looks like Darren Brassfield slipping back.
And well, he might. Word from the pits is that Darren Brassfield, right there in the black number 5 with the white Mustang Cobra of Tommy Kendall all over him. Darren Brassfield is apparently having brake problems. There is Parker Johnstone, the leader in the Camel Lights class, drawing away just a little bit from the second place number 9 machine of Bob Earl.
But so far, all these leading groups having a pretty tough time with each other as Scott Pruitt leads Paul Gentilozzi out of turn 11. There you see Darren Brassfield in the third one of the black Oldsmobiles. Right behind him now is Tommy Kendall in the Ford Mustang, and right behind him is Parker Johnstone, leader of the Camel Light division. So a lot of very, very close racing going on at the front of this field.
We've got 8 classes to keep track of, and we'll do our best as the day goes on. Up front, Manuel Reuter leads. Scott Pruitt, leader in the Exxon GTS class, is all the way up to 5th place overall. Stay with us. More to come in a moment.
Boys and girls, moms and dads, head for Kids Fest at Six Flags with face painting, puppet shows. And this year, Six Flags brings Hollywood to Atlanta with the all-new Dennis the Menace screen test show. See how movies are made and star in a super stage show based on Warner Brothers' new live-action movie, Dennis the Menace. Go behind the scenes as Six Flags brings you the magic of movie making. So come on, it's free with your Six Flags admission all during Kids Fest at Six Flags, July 16th through 25th.
This month on pay-per-view, the Mel Gibson hit, Forever Young. 50 years ago, he volunteered for a dangerous experiment. I want to sleep for a year.
So what you're telling me is that he was lost for 50 years?
He never imagined where it would take him.
The FBI is on their way. Something's going on here. What the heck happened in the last 50 years?
Mel Gibson, the box office hit, Forever Young. Easy to order on pay-per-view. Call your cable system or check your guide for details.
And brings his class and style from the screen to the track. He joins legendary heroes of racing in Jazzed Up Jags. Fast Masters on Saturday Night Thunder, live at 8 Eastern on ESPN.
Welcome back to the IMSA Piggly Wiggly Grand Prix of Road America. Bob Barsha and David Hobbs with you, rocketing under the bridge at about 180 miles an hour. Manuel Reuter of Germany leads the way in the number 7 Joest Racing Porsche, followed by Giampiero Moretti in that Momo Nissan. Moretti doing very well, David.
Absolutely. I mean, for a guy who had his 50-something birthday the other day, as you said, he really does do very, very well this year. Really come back into his own.
Now let's take a look at the GTO class, led by Les Lindley from Anaheim, California, but Lindley's not here in the picture. There is Charles Morgan in the number 47 car, leading Brian DeVries in 00. Morgan, in just 2 previous starts this year, is already up to 4th in points with a 1st and 2nd place finish. Now there is Les Lindley in the yellow Ford Mustang, chasing another class leader, and we'll get to that in a moment. Here comes Charles Morgan trying to run down Lindley, and there's a good look at DeVries in a car fielded by Paul Gentilozzi, which explains the color scheme. Now here comes a pair of class leaders in front, the Jaguar XJ220 for Davy Jones and Jay Cochran, and then Les Lindley. David, I believe you know a little bit about those Jaguars from the Fast Masters series here on ESPN.
That is the same car that we're using, because we don't have the wing and some of the trick stuff they've got on this car. Ours is more of the road version, but still in all a very effective car. And those that watch the Fast Masters will see it on the next 2 Saturdays. And then, of course, the final coming up on August the 21st. And guess who's in the final? Parnelli Jones, for one.
Right. I know lots of guys in the final.
It's going to be extremely tough, I think, for the old coot. I don't know why he didn't go back to California where he belongs.
Our David Hobbs, of course, will also be racing in the Fast Masters final. Right now, Giampiero Moretti,
old coots, look at him,
wants to go up the inside of Manuel Reuter. Reuter took a look in his mirrors and then dives in to take the line.
Manuel Reuter can give him 25 years, probably. Ooh, swerving through the traffic there, and Giampiero not giving up one little bit. Right behind him, John Paul Jr. in the 77 car. Ooh, this is all pretty exciting as they come down through turn 2, swooping out to the back straight, passing one of the slower cars there. Moretti still looking for a way past.
Not too long ago, those turbo Porsches were the backbone of this series. Now you're calling them slower cars. Manuel Reuter now pulling up behind one of the GTU entries, the Mazda.
Oh, and he didn't give him any room. He could see that coming, though. Very good. Reuter hung back. The GTU chopped him off. John Paul Jr. getting right up. He's going to slide through there into turn 6. Yep, managed to get through. So Moretti now coming under attack from John Paul Jr. after that shuffle through the traffic. Down into turn 8. Hard on the brakes.
In the background there, you get a look at the off-road course at the center of this 4-mile Elkhart Lake Circuit. It's an absolute motorsports playground here in the hills of central Wisconsin.
Just a few miles away, about 2.5, is Elkhart Lake, which is covered in water skis and all sorts of other motorized activity.
Rocketing through that fast right-hander, and now onto the dirty part of the racetrack to get around. Looks like one of the GTO machines. Tremendous nose-to-tail dice here. Manuel Reuter, Giampiero Moretti, and John Paul Jr. Now here comes Wayne Taylor in the Danka Motorsports famous Amos Chevrolet GTP, and here is another of our GTP entries. This is the Gunnar Sunoco Porsche, being driven today by Charles Slater, going behind the wall.
Now that's the car that John Paul Jr. was going to drive and said didn't run too well in practice, so obviously he's very lucky that he jumped out of that car and into the 77 car.
He'll Meanwhile, back on point, Manuel Reuter has opened a huge lead because of the traffic.
Which you'd sort of expect. I mean, Manuel Reuter is a real hot shoe. He still desperately wants to get into Formula One. He races a lot in Germany in some very intensive competition. So this is a man who's driven and who really wants to win, and you would expect him to pull away from... Oh, that's John Paul Jr.
Paul Jr. on the turf, and it's been very wet up here. Let's see if it'll get him back on the track.
Ah, well, he was giving Moretti a hard time. Obviously tried to slide down the inside of him or something, and in fact slid off the road. We didn't see what happened, but no doubt that's given Moretti a bit of a breather.
John Paul Jr. quickly back up to speed. Here's another look. They see him going down the inside of a GTU car, and he just runs out of road.
I think the GTU car actually was over on the inside and moved over him. I think he thought he was going to let him pass on the outside. Anyway, that's one of those trying to outthink the other guy, and sometimes in these multi-class races that sort of thing is going to happen. On the other hand, it does make for exciting racing, whichever way you look at it.
Now you're on board with John Heinrichs running 23rd in an invitational GT class Corvette with our onboard camera.
Now this class is a pretty stock sort of class as Moretti goes by on the inside going to the carousel. This gives you a real good look at this carousel, how long it is and how far it goes on and on and on and on. And as you can see, very little runoff area on the left there.
Hood flapping from the force of the wind. It's the kind of corner where you just feed in as much power as you think the traction will allow. This Corvette fielded by Tommy Morrison, who has set a variety of world records in Corvettes, speed, endurance, and now he road races them. Long braking distance for what, as you mentioned, is essentially a stock Corvette.
They have smaller tires than the race cars. They have less braking. They have less cooling to the braking. As we come up under the bridge, again, it gives you an idea how narrow it is on the approach. And look at this race for the lead in Camel Lights, still all over each other.
These cars essentially identical except for small bodywork changes. Bob Earl and the number 9 car goes down the inside. There's traffic ahead.
And Parker Johnstone lets him go there because he can see that car looming up on his left. No point making a fist fight of it at this stage of the race. Down to that turn 2. Now then, the thing is, does Parker Johnstone get a better shot off this corner? Because he'll be able to draft Bob Earl down this long back straight into the turn 5.
And that's a battle that you can expect will go on all day. Rain still in the forecast, but it's dry right now. Stay with us.
No matter what you drive, we've got you covered from H to Z.
The Suzuki GSXRs. First, they win more road races than any production motorcycle in history. License plate on them. The new liquid-cooled GSXRs, now available in 600, 750, and 1100 octane.
He doesn't like power breakfast. He'll take a pass on poetry. Deep down, he's a grown-up Boy Scout. Way grown. He likes feeling clean and cool and very male. And he knows how to get there. Where have you guys been? Brute. Men are back.
Back at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, the Piggly Wiggly Grand Prix of Road America. Here comes Manuel Reuter. We're very close to our pit stop window, so we expect action down in the pit lane with Marty Reed shortly.
Manuel Reuter going through turn 5 there, leaving himself plenty of room on the outside. So many people put their wheels over the edge, and here is John Paul Jr. coming into the pit.
You can see the damage at the left front corner from his off-course excursions. He comes smoking into the pits, and the Joest Racing team goes to work. Let's see if they change that nose after tearing up the left front corner going off the racetrack.
Boy, if they don't, he'll have a severe loss of downforce on the front. And I would say it'd be a lot slower down the straight, too. Ah, there comes the first pin out as the German crew jump to there. The first time one of these Porsches appeared at Road America was in the hands of John Fitzpatrick in the Can-Am race in 1983. He drove it solo. It was one of those 95 days here in Wisconsin. And here we are 10 years later, and the Porsche still, well, starting from pole position.
And here comes the pole car, number 7, Manuel Reuter, flashes by the pits. As you can see, John Paul Jr. is back out on the racetrack. There he is, just down through turn 2, being chased by Bob Earl, the leader in the Camel Lights class. Oh, and that looks like he maybe got him in the back. Whoa, that was close.
Either he got him in the back or he's on cold tires, and it's gave a bit of a squiggle there coming off turn 2.
Here's a look at our GTU class. Grand Touring under 3 liters, no turbocharging allowed. Bill Auberlin, the class leader, over Eduardo Pellerano and Eduardo Dibos from Central America, where road racing these kinds of cars, the GTU class is very, very popular.
Bill Auberlin's led this race from the drop of the flag. He was on the pole, so he's having a pretty good race, but Eduardo Pellerano there is not exactly a great deal of distance behind him, is he?
Bill Auberlin, one of those campaigners who's been involved in IMSA racing for many years. Pellerano with a very nicely turned out car.
These two having an incredibly good race here this afternoon as they go streaking down the Kettle Moraine back straight here into Canada Corner, both hard on the brakes. These are very advanced little cars, you know. They've got lots of downforce in those wings and the bodywork, and they make a great racing class for people here at IMSA.
Auberlin in the number 19 Mazda, Pellerano in the number 15 car from Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, excuse me, I almost said Puerto Rico.
You can't get much more evenly matched than that, can you, at this stage of the race, to be that close together? I guess bodes well for the rest of the afternoon. We could have this race right to the drop of the flag.
These Mazdas, of course, use the Wankel engine, the rotary engine, as you take a look at Bill Auberlin. That has been an absolute boon to road racing nationwide. The engine is virtually bulletproof, and you can put lots and lots of miles on it very economically. Now, there was the 4th place car in GTP. This is Wayne Taylor in the Danka Famous Amos Cookies Chevrolet GTP. Looks like a fairly routine stop.
That, of course, started life as an Intrepid, designed and manufactured by Bob Riley, and then Chevrolet themselves decided to take a step back from IMSA racing itself. And Wayne Taylor is flying the flag for Chevrolet in GTP. Got some good sponsorship. He runs and owns the team, but he hasn't had what you could call a whole lot of luck this year. I must say he's had a very unfortunate year as we watch him come down into turn 2. Got some good sponsors, as you can see.
Back on board with John Heinrichsey in the Chevrolet Corvette. He's now up to 22nd. He's improved a spot since we last saw him.
This would be one of the most stock cars in the race.
Now here comes Les Lindley, the leader in the GTO class. Very early for one of these cars to be pitting. Lindley, a welcome regular in the class, used to run SCCA Trans Am for many years. He switched from Chevy to Ford to run IMSA. Here's Marty Reed.
What's interesting is this is the pit that is right behind the Joest Porsche team, and they're getting ready to bring in the lead Porsche. And you can see the officials making a move that nose section because it's going to be right in the area where Joest is going to try and pit. We'll keep you posted.
Meanwhile, Les Lindley's still there and obviously having some sort of major problem.
You heard him gunning the engine. Problems for Lindley in the engine bay. Meanwhile, here's Manuel Reuter, just a couple of corners away from the pit entrance. There's his fuel man. Make sure you have that face shield down, pal. Otherwise, it's a 10-second stop and go. Let's see if Reuter dives for the pit lane this time around, and he does. Up and over the rise, Manuel Reuter running parallel to the pit lane. Now we'll see if Joest, whoa, problems there with another car exiting. Let's get back down to Marty Reed.
Well, Manuel Reuter brings the number 7 lead Porsche in, and you can see he had a little bit of difficulty getting around the number 48 of Les Lindley. The nose section back on Lindley's car. They're waiting to get fuel in. They'll send him back out. As far as the lead Porsche, no problems to report. No nose change needed on this car. 4 tires and a full load of fuel, and they'll be back out underway.
All right, thank you, Marty. Now, there is the Momo Nissan, the second-place car, being driven by Gianpiero Moretti. Meanwhile, Reuter comes down off the jacks, just waiting for the fuel. There goes Les Lindley back into the fray. Now, Derek Bell has taken over for Gianpiero Moretti as Reuter exits. They push the car back in the pit lane.
Lots of brake dust came out of the front wheel. I noticed when they changed it, they had to push it back there to get it out of the pit. Of course, this is very, very tough on brakes, this circuit. A lot of the corners here are a lot slower than they look on the map, and they've all got real fast approaches, so brakes do take a pasting here at Road America.
See Les Lindley on the track. There's Manuel Reuter on the track, and behind him you got a quick look at Charles Morgan, who has taken over the lead in the GTO class. We'll be back with more in a moment.
When you're involved in an accident, life can suddenly be turned upside down with physical, emotional, and financial problems. Call the Seiler Law Firm at 491-1000. Prompt legal advice can mean the difference between financial disaster and success. I'm attorney Timothy Seiler. I've represented thousands of clients in accident claims for almost 2 decades. We're ready to fight for your legal rights. Call the Seiler Law Firm now at 491-1000. We get results.
In hell
That it came out of this.
will end on Earth, shall we begin? Out of the way. Clive Barker presents Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth, rated R.
Work can be a grind. So when I get home, I want to kick back with a good action flick. Pay-per-view's got all the good ones. No tapes to return, no late fees. So the action's on my TV, not in my wallet.
Make the choice. Make your day. Pay-per-view.
See great athletic feats at this year's most important international amateur sporting event, the World University Games. Tomorrow afternoon, live on ESPN.
Back at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, in the Piggly Wiggly Grand Prix of Road America, we want to remind you about upcoming events here on ESPN Speed World. The Budweiser at the Glen. Winston Cup stars, including Kyle Petty, take to the turns of Watkins Glen, New York. Sunday, August 8th, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific, live right here on ESPN. Now here comes Tommy Kendall in the Jack Roush Racing Mustang Cobra, making his required pit stop.
Changing all 4 tires there. Tommy Kendall, of course, is leading in the championship points this year, but he's not leading today. The Gentilozzi cars are really having a field day.
Tommy Kendall may pick up a disputed victory at Mid-Ohio. Now, meanwhile, this is Brian DeVries in the GTO version of the Oldsmobile Cutlass. He's got it pointed the wrong way.
Spinning around on that damp grass. Looks like the exit of turn 8 to me. As he rejoins the fray. Nearly got that Camel Light car at Jim Pace.
There's Tommy Kendall getting back out. And there in the background, there is Les Lindley back in the pits. He's got a big problem, and so does this guy. Derek Bell, the 2-time world champion, has taken over for Gianpiero Moretti and just got in a couple of laps before he pulls it over. He's already got the belts undone.
Oh, dear. Now, that doesn't look good at all. What a shame, because that car was going so well as we come up to turn 6, and just look at that traffic going to turn 6. And right behind it's Manuel Reuter. Derek Bell going directions back to the pits on foot. He's not used to doing that. Just look at this traffic as it weaves through turn 7 there.
That's Johnny O'Connell in the Nissan, the number 76 car, and a couple of slower cars ahead of him, and Manuel Reuter in that white Porsche slicing through. Now here comes Darren Brassfield, who started on pole in the Exxon Supreme GTS category. He has dropped back. He was once 5th. He is now 8th. Remember, he started this race with a bad back. Car squirrely there under braking for that corner, now being caught up by the Camel Lights leader, Parker Johnstone.
And the Camel Lights have a hard job to catch up with these GTS cars here at Elkhart Lake.
He gets him under braking, however. Let's see if we can learn more about Darren Brassfield's situation from Marty Reed.
Well, Lee White is running 4 different cars here today, and you can see the brain trust has got his hands full. All he could tell us as far as Darren Brassfield's situation was concerned, it's not his back acting up, it's his brakes. That's why he's been falling back.
All right, right, thank you, Marty. Here comes the car number 0 of Scott Pruitt flashing across the start-finish line. Tremendous speed down to the first corner, and you can see where people have been lighting up their tires under heavy braking for this very fast right-hander. Now let's get back down to the pit lane. Here comes Paul Gentilozzi.
Paul Gentilozzi brings the car to a halt, and one of the lug nuts goes rolling out into the middle of the pit lane, and he's going to have to get that collected later. But so far, everything else is routine. 4 tires, a full load of fuel, and Gentilozzi will be back underway here. Now they've got 2 more cars to bring in here. Lee White, I've never seen his team quite so harried as a sport car ever. Now the 00 is parked behind him. That GTO car has got the bonnet back on, but it is not underway. Debris still sitting in it. Gentilozzi gets a clean windshield. Again, fuel, the slowest process here in the IMSA pit stops. They're checking the bonnet. Everything's buttoned down. And again, once the fuel goes in, Gentilozzi will be underway.
Back wheel starting to spin there.
I noticed Marty Reed has picked up an expression from you. It's not a hood anymore, it's a bonnet.
It's a bonnet. See the back wheel spinning on the Gentilozzi car as he leaves the pits. I'm not sure that's such a great idea. That's not allowed to do that in IndyCar racing, and it probably should be banned in this race as well, because you never know when one of your crewmen might be just down there having a look at the wheel or decides to have another look at something. If you've already let the clutch out, when you get his arm wrapped up in the wheel arch, it wouldn't be good for him at all. Manuel Reuter sweeps past Scott Pruitt. Scott Pruitt leading that GTS division.
That shows you what kind of speed differential they have between the GTP cars and the Exxon GTS machines.
We're watching driver Hut Strickland test the McDonald's car. Hey, guys, what keeps Hut going?
McDonald's coffee, Jack. Hut loves the stuff.
McDonald's coffee, really?
Yep. Hut loves those sausage biscuits, too. What? He says they're only 79 cents.
Hey, he's pulling off.
Yeah, he's out of coffee.
What you want is what you get.
You want a sausage biscuit or anything?
At McDonald's today.
What? Oh, guard dog. Oh, very scary.
Finally, the good stuff.
If you want great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light.
This is not a test. It's not even a quiz. But it is an emergency. GSXRs are attacking, wreaking havoc in Daytona, Laguna Seca, and other strategic points around the country. You were instructed to go to your Suzuki dealer and get a GSXR for no money down. Repeat, no money down. But hurry, the end is near.
Thursday, it's a perfect night for the perfect game at the Rocky Mountain Senior Open. Then the high-powered punches of heavyweights Jesse Ferguson and Rocky Papelli ignite top-ranked boxing.
Knockdown Thursday, ESPN. Hey!
Welcome back to the Piggly Wiggly Grand Prix of Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Bob Barsha, David Hobbs, and Marty Reed with you here on Speed World. There's the yellow helmet of Manuel Reuter, winner of the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 1989 in a Mercedes team along with Jochen Mass and Stanley Dickens. Sliding around in first place, has led since the green flag. Now we have a pit stop. This is Wayne Taylor coming in the Chevrolet-powered GTP. Marty Reed is standing by.
You can see the steam coming out of the number 8 Danka Chevrolet as Wayne Taylor has pulled the car in, and yes, the bonnet is coming off, so this is not a good sign. So that little puff of smoke that we saw in the past is no longer a little puff. It's a flume of steam, and that spells bad news as this car is overheating.
Somewhat like the natural state of the armadillos at the side of the road, the natural state of poor old Wayne this year has been in pit lane. It's very, very, very unfortunate for the guy.
Those armadillos occasionally wind up as roadkill. I bet Wayne Taylor probably has a pretty similar feeling after so many races with so many problems, electronics, low oil pressure all weekend. Now here is Charles Morgan in the Exxon GTO class.
No wonder he's smiling. He went from Camel Lights, which he's been so good at, into these great big GTO cars. Won the first time out at Mid-Ohio. Scored well at Watkins Glen, and here he is leading again. So, boy, oh boy, I mean, he's really set the GTO class on his ear.
Now here comes the troubled Oldsmobile of Darren Brassfield. Here's Marty.
The 5 of Darren Brassfield pulls into pit lane. Crew goes to work. Boy, this has been fast and furious down here with 4 different cars to worry about. And the communication seems to be very difficult from one side of the track to the other. Getting the signal to the crew members or to the drivers has been difficult. Now, Darren hits the wiper to try and get some of the material off. I think that's a signal to the crew saying, hey, guys, please wipe the windscreen. There it is. They'll get it done. The 4 tires, the fuel will still be the longest. Brassfield's back is okay, but remember, they are having brake problems with this number 5 Rocket Sports Oldsmobile.
Oh, Marty Reed must be taking English, as Bob, calling windshields, windscreens, and hoods, bonnets, and all those real neat adjectives to describe these things.
You must be after your job. There's Parker Johnstone running second to Bob Earl in the Camel Lights class. Keep in mind, all of the Camel Lights cars will be required to make a driver change. The only class required to change drivers. Darren Brassfield, spewing water out of the cooling system, is back on the track. There is Parker Johnstone, who, despite all of his successes, has never won here. Let's get back down to Marty.
We've caught up with Derek Bell down here in the paddock area, and it's a long walk from turn 7. Is that where it is?
I was offered lots of rides, but yeah, it's a long walk. When I got in the car, it had a lot of clanking going on, and Jean-Pierre reported it to Kevin. And I called him out. I said, there's a terrible noise in here, which sounded like an N going, but I thought, oh, they didn't seem to bother about it. None of the pressures, everything seemed fine. So I cruised on for a couple of laps, but I wasn't happy with it. And then as I came out of turn 6, it just went bang in a big way.
It's a shame because you guys really were doing well.
Yeah, Jean-Pierre did a wonderful job. I mean, he did just what we had to do, and that was stay basically in touch with the Porsches and just to see the plan as the day went on. I mean, it could still rain and all sorts of things, and we knew we could go faster if we had to. We just tried to play it cool all weekend. It didn't work out in the end.
And so Derek Bell, who won his 2 world championships in Porsches, watch Porsches lead the way here today. Now there is Bob Earl. He will share with Colorado lawyer Bob Shader before the day is out. And here comes Parker Johnstone. I mentioned that he has never won here, but his teammate Dan Marvin has. So back down into the pit lane. Here is Bob Earl coming in. Marty Reed is right there.
Well, Bob Earl brings the number 9 Acura to a stop, and it looks as though this will be a routine change. In fact, Earl will climb out, and it is extremely hot, and a lot of these teams are taking the opportunity that have the 2 drivers. Of course, Camel Lights require it. They are making an early change. A couple of these teams said they would go double shifts. Others have said they would try and split it up, but they will have to make at least 1 more stop hitting this early in the race, and that was the schedule. So Bob Earl out, Bob Shader in. We'll try and get a word with Bob Earl.
Is done. Bob Shader heads back out onto the racetrack. A lot of mid-season testing for this team. They added those little cutouts behind the front wheels. Here comes a Camel Lights car overtaking Mark Porcaro, the number 51 GTO car. There is Scott Pruitt, now the leader in the Exxon Supreme GTS class. Here comes Tommy Kendall in that red, white, and blue Ford Mustang going around Shader. Won't often see that as Shader tries to bring his cold tires up to temperature. Off he goes down the backstretch. Now we have another car coming into the pits. This is another of the Olivetti Oldsmobiles. Scott Pruitt brings it in. Here's Marty.
Scott Pruitt brings the number 0 Rocket Sports Oldsmobile to a halt. This is the last of the 3 GTS cars for this team to pit. Now with the sequence, he has the lead as we speak, but whether or not he'll be able to hold it, it'll be up to the pit crew. 4-tire change. Fuel again will be the slowest factor, as the fuel load on this car is at the rear, as you can see, way in the back, not up high on the side. They'll watch the windscreen. Tires look good as they come off, so tire wear not been a problem here on this fast and hard braking Road America course. So Pruitt doing very well in this one-off opportunity with the Rocket Sports Oldsmobile team.
Very well indeed, Marty. Not only was he running first in class, and still is, as Tom Kendall has not yet passed the start-finish line, Scott Pruitt, with that pit stop from Wayne Taylor's GTP car, is now running 3rd overall in the race behind the Porsches of Manuel Reuter and John Paul Jr. Comes down off the Jackson, spins out one of his crewmen.
Boy, his foot nearly slipped onto that rear wheel, too.
Now here's a car off the track. This is the GTU Nissan number 57 of Reed Kreider.
That's down at the turn 8 where I said that green grass is beginning some wear and tear this afternoon. That right front wheel looks a bit deranged.
And he goes off the embankment. Whoa, a little bit further down the road, and he might have flipped that. So it appears a broken steering will end Reed Kreider's day. Now back up on the point in the Exxon Supreme GTS category, the red, white, and blue Ford Mustang of Tommy Kendall goes around the Zero Oldsmobile of Scott Pruitt, who's walked a little bit there by a Camel Lights car. Ford out front in GTS.
For the first time this afternoon, and they're going to want to maintain that until the end of the day so that he can retain that lead in the class championship this year.
There's Andy Evans in a World Sports Car chassis leading the way. Tommy Kendall about to overtake him. Ford out front. We'll be back. Lots of action still to come from Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. It's Porsche 1-2 and pulling away.
When you're looking for a clean break from your cola routine, you don't want to be sucked in by imitations. You want the only non-cola that picks up where colas leave off. You want the un-cola, 7-Up. When you want the taste of there's only one.
Back at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, as the sky continues to darken, Manuel Reuter in the number 7 Joest Racing Porsche moves around the Jaguar XJ220, shared by Jay Cochran and Davy Jones.
The sky is certainly looking very threatening, and of course it could be rain here. And this is such a long circuit, you know, 4 miles, that it can easily rain one side, not the other, because it's a long way across.
Here's the GTS battle. Tommy Kendall in the Ford trying to hold off Scott Pruitt in the Oldsmobile. Paul Gentilozzi in third is the team leader. Gentilozzi in the running for the series championship, while Scott Pruitt is just making a guest appearance. So if Gentilozzi can haul himself up to Pruitt, there may be team orders coming into play there.
Boy, I'll tell you what, though, these two guys are having a tremendous race, and this must be a bit of deja vu all over again for these two guys, because they had some great battles in GTS years ago, and of course in Trans Am too.
Both of them former series champions in the Trans Am.
This Exxon Supreme Racing is actually some of the best racing in IMSA at the moment. There's no doubt about it. These are great cars. Very, very, very high tech, of course. They streak down that front straight there past the pits, up around about the 180 mile an hour mark. Very, very quick cars.
In fact, in straight line speed, they can keep pace with the GTP cars. It's only in the corners where the P cars, with their fabulous downforce, can turn more quickly. Pruitt takes a look down the inside, then tucks back in. Oh, and Darren Brassfield in the number 5 car. If he's got brake problems, they put him off the racetrack. Oh, and he'll be picking up all kinds of crud. Let's take another look. Under braking.
That's at Canada Corner, which is at the end of that Kettle Moraine back straight. It's a tricky place anyway, and if he's got a brake problem, we don't know what it is. It could be the balance from front to rear's got all skew-whiffy on it.
So Brassfield struggles. Meanwhile, on the point, the Exxon GTS at this point to be decided between Tom Kendall and Scott Pruitt. Looking up, no room there as they head for the carousel.
And traffic, too. There's a large red vehicle in front of them. It's a Corvette. That's the 31 car. Oh, whoa, and it held old Tommy Kendall up, but Pruitt just slipped down the inside.
Kendall comes rushing back.
Right. Down to the kink. You can see all the rolled up rubber there and gravel and grit that collects. This is a real fast corner. I mean, you've really got to suck it up for there, especially in those big Exxon GTS cars. There's the Camel Light car of Sheehan and Pace in front of them.
That car running in the top 12 at this point, but about to be put a lap down by the battle at Exxon GTS. Take a look back through the rest of the field. Here comes your Camel Lights battle. Bob Shader and Parker Johnstone running first, and so will Parker put a wheel off. Same corner. Now we have the race leader in the pit lane. Manuel Reuter heads for the Joest Racing pits. Marty Reed is standing by.
I don't know if you could see it as they were coming in, but the brakes on the right front were blazing as he brought that car to a stop. They are making the change. Now, Manuel Reuter will stay in the car on the lead Porsche. John Winter told us he will go in on the last shift, so there are definitely one more fuel stop for the number 7 as they are getting this one ready to go back out. Reuter looks very fresh. I mean, he's moving around very animated in the cockpit. They're down off of the block. They're still waiting for the fuel, as everybody has been today.
And that's the classic driver lineup for Reinhold Joest, the German entrepreneur who's made a living racing Porsches and world sports car competition for many years. Get a hot shoe like Manuel Reuter, get a guy with lots of money and some racing skills like John Winter, and pair them up.
And this is a tremendous battle here for the Camel Lights lead today. Bob Shader in the number 9 car holding off Parker Johnstone manfully as the 47 car. That is
Charles Morgan,
exactly,
in the GTO class leader. Parker goes down. It's a drag race down to turn 5.
This is the place where everybody gathers here at Road America. This is the overtaking spot. It's also the place where lots of people spin off, albeit at relatively slow and safe speed, but it's always a good spot for action up into the turn 6 under the bridge. Another good place to watch is just right here on this hill. You can see a lot of the track in front of you.
So Parker Johnstone moves back out front, looking to extend his all-time record with his 24th victory in Camel Lights. We'll give you a look at the top 10, take a quick time out, and return to Road America. Stay right there.
This is not a test. It's not even a quiz. But it is an emergency. GSXRs are attacking, wreaking havoc in Daytona, Laguna Seca, and other strategic points around the country. You were instructed to go to your Suzuki dealer and get a GSXR for no money down. Repeat, no money down. But hurry, the end is near.
You can see it in their eyes. They're pushing to raise the benchmark of quality. And after 3 million miles of testing, the people of Exxon know Phase 4 gasoline offers the highest level of engine cleaning, all for one reason. For proven high performance you can rely on.
Let the tiger set you free. Rely on the tiger.
All right, what is the best day of your life?
7 years old, and my dad takes me to Yankee Stadium, my first game. Sat there the whole game next to my dad. Taught me how to keep score. Mickey hit one out. Good day. And I still have the program.
When I was about 18 and my dad and I couldn't communicate about anything at all, we could still talk about baseball. No, that was real.
Back at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, the 7 Porsche followed by the 77 Porsche. Manuel Reuter out front, followed by John Paul Jr. as the Joest Racing team leads the way in round number 8 in the Camel GT Series for 1993.
Manuel Reuter down into turn 2, about to set forth onto that long, fast downhill back straight as we get on board now with John Heinrichsey in one of the invitational cars.
Chevrolet muscle out the exhaust pipe. Heinrichsey in a fairly stock Chevrolet Corvette heads for the pit lane. Now this pit stop should be interesting. This car does not carry the onboard jacks that the prototypes and the Exxon Supreme GTS cars do. So they will have to conduct their pit stop much like a NASCAR Winston Cup team with a hand jack and 5 lug nuts on each of the 4 wheels. Let's watch them go to work.
about the driver. He's talking about the jack, I think.
It's not going well so far. The car sits so low to the ground, they're having trouble getting the jack under. Now you see the wheels coming off at the left front corner, so the car is up. And it looks like Andy Pilgrim will get in for John Heinrichsey.
Andy Pilgrim, who we see driving in those Lotuses in the Super Cup Series. Obviously a big difference between a Lotus Esprit and one of these big Corvettes. A lot of power in this car, even though it's a stock car. Of course, it still develops nearly 400 horsepower. Not much wing on the back, as you can see, to help get it through some of these faster corners here at Road America.
Brakes smoking at the front end.
As we've said before, this is a tough series on a tough track on brakes, as Heinrichsey has one last word of wisdom with Pilgrim before he leaves the pits.
You'll notice the car also had doors that operate. If this were drag race, they'd call it a door slammer. Now in the midst of heavy traffic, here's the battle for the Camel Lights lead. Parker Johnstone, Bob Shader right behind him up onto the front stretch. Johnstone has already pitted once, but he has not handed over to his teammate Dan Marvin. There you see the running order, and it looks like Shader will challenge for the lead.
Well, Shader used the draft up past the pits there. Trying to be very brave going to turn one. Oh, Parker Johnson out-braved him there. That's a very fast corner, that. Fourth gear. Got a lot of speed on through there as they come down to turn two. There's Darren Brassfield in the Oldsmobile, going a lot slower, obviously still having some sort of major brake problem.
Onto the back stretch now. We'll see if the Camel Lights cars can rocket by. The GTS cars normally have the better top-end speed, and you can see Brassfield pulling away.
But, of course, coming into the turn 5 just might be a lot different because this is very heavy braking. So he's managed to stay in front.
Up and over the hill they go to the hard left-hander at turn 6. GTO car, that yellow and red car, just ahead of Darren Brassfield, so there'll be more traffic for these two Camel Lights leaders to navigate.
These two Camel Light cars have had a tremendous race here this afternoon. It's a very hot, long day. Down the inside now. Is Bob Shader going to be able to do it? Yeah, Darren Brassfield gives him room.
Well, you say that.
Sort of gives him room. Not a lot of room as they sweep past the 17 car. That's Joe Pezza. He's driving the GTO class into the carousel. These little Camel Light cars, very, very quick through a carousel.
Now Tommy Kendall is into the pit lane. Marty Reed is standing by in the Roush Racing pit.
Tommy Kendall brings the Roush Mustang Cobra to a stop. This car is running second in class, 4th overall. The Roush team last time felt that the pit stop was the reason they picked up so much ground. They are going after it again. Again, the fuel is always the question mark. You want to make sure you get a full load. They are got a problem on the right rear. They've got a problem on the right rear. They're having a hard time getting the lug nut off. This could be costly. This will be costly. They're taking one wrench out. Now they've got another one in. Fuel is in. The car's away.
And so apparently all it was the air hammer. Now Darren Brassfield is once again in the Oldsmobile pits. Here's Marty.
Well, it's bad enough Darren Brassfield has a bad back. His bad brakes have brought him into the pit, and they are now going to be forced to make a change. The front wheels are off. The hot plates are coming off. They'll try and get this as quickly as possible, but this will take Brassfield out of any hopes of getting back into contention with the leaders in Exxon Supreme GTS Series action.
And that is a tough break for Darren Brassfield. Remember, he came in here 4th in points, while the man tied for 2nd, Steve Millen, is not racing, so Brassfield will miss a great opportunity to move up in the Exxon Supreme Championship. Back on board now with Andy Pilgrim, and you see the prototype chassis up ahead just motor away in this carousel corner, calling for high downforce.
This is exactly the sort of corner where the GT prototypes do have such a vast gap of performance over the other car. This is where he will also pick up speed through the kink. I mean, it'll just rocket away through there.
There goes Andy Evans. There goes Scott Pruitt. Then Andy Pilgrim. And then the number 63 of Jim Downing and Tim McAdam. 8 different classes of cars in action today here at Road America. Stay with us.
Boys and girls, moms and dads, head for Kids Fest at Six Flags with face painting, puppet shows. And this year, Six Flags brings Hollywood to Atlanta with the all-new Dennis the Menace screen test show. See how movies are made and star in a super stage show based on Warner Brothers' new live-action movie, Dennis the Menace. Go behind the scenes as Six Flags brings you the magic of movie making. So come on, it's free with your Six Flags admission all during Kids Fest at Six Flags, July 16th through 25th.
It's been mauled, pummeled, scraped, and abused. So it's no wonder that at trade-in time, your truck is worth as much as $500 less than this one. Make an investment that more than pays for itself. Demand Duraliner, America's #1 truck bed liner.
Major League excitement.
5 nights a week on ESPN.
This week on America's Game of the Week, the Athletics face All-Star Wade Boggs and the Yankees tomorrow night.
Don't be chicken. Feast on all the ball on ESPN. Track Facts are brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil.
When the average eye takes a look at the Porsche 962C, it might see an 11-year-old race car. But if you look closely underneath, you'll notice that there have been over a dozen major changes over the years to help update this car to keep it race ready. The first place that we can show you is the underside of the front nose section. Now, the under tray used to be attached, made it very difficult for the crews to slide this on and off, also made it a lot more heavy. Now the under tray is attached to the chassis itself, making it much easier for the crews to put that nose section on and off. Moving back to the suspension, remember that the geometric design has been changed totally for both the front and the rear on the 962C. And going to single caliper brakes also reduce weight and improve stopping power. The roll cage itself, well, it is now made out of carbon fiber. It's a lot lighter. It's also a lot more expensive. And remember also that the Porsche 962 has gone to the twin turbo, not the single turbo, which required a wider tunnel space and more intercoolers to take care of keeping everything from burning up. Probably the biggest design is in the back section. Take a look at the wing. Remember the old 962C? It had a single wing? Well, after the success that Jaguar had with their dihedral, the Joest Porsche team adapted it for their car as well. It's an old dog, still has plenty of new tricks.
And that paper shuffling you hear in the background is David Hobbs searching for his dictionary to find out what dihedral means.
Sounds like Big Marty Reed to it. There is that dihedral wing going into turn 1. All the downforce is dihedraling there onto the track. In fact, it dihedral so much it hardly used any track leaving turn 1. This car is really sticking to the ground well.
Does that mean a car with a single wing is a unihedral?
Uni something.
Here is the number 77 Joest Racing Porsche. This is John Paul Jr. running in second place, but he is now a lap down to his teammate, the race leader, Manuel Reuter, into the carousel, putting that right front wheel right on the white line and then letting it drift out as he comes off the corner. Back up front, Reuter coming up on Bob Shader, now running second in the Camel Lights category. Parker Johnstone appears to have pulled away a little bit from Shader.
7 car of Manuel Reuter. He's putting on a sterling display this afternoon. Through the carousel there. Very quick. Tough on the, this is the corner, the only real corner here that's tough on the driver's neck and upper body. It is a long, hard corner.
Down to turn 2 comes Charles Morgan, the leader in the GTO category. Joe Pessa and Joe Laugat follow. Charles Morgan used to run in the Camel Lights class. In fact, he did so for many years and was a championship contender. Now he has switched over to the big sedans of GTO. This is his 3rd race in the category, and if he should win, he will take the lead for the 1993 championship.
Because the current leader, Les Lindley, is already out of the race, so he's no threat to Charles Morgan this afternoon. But what a way to go. It's just 3 laps.
Now let's get down to Marty Reed.
Oh, we've caught up with Les Lindley already out of the racing suit and into street clothes, and a tough break because you were leading GTO at the time. What happened?
Yeah, we were leading GTO. We just got past the Jag. He was holding me up, so I decided, well, I'll go past him and stretch out a little bit, and the motor started missing, and it came in, and they got checking and found out we lost the retainer in the motor and dropped the valve, so it was the end of our day. But the car was good. It was really good. We had no problems at all, other than that.
Other than the one that stopped us. So the Exxon Supreme Series producing some of the best racing of the day. Let's check in with GTU. Bill Auberlin out front from Rolling Hills Estates, California, the home of P.J. Jones, who drives for Dan Gurney's Toyota team, taking a sabbatical this weekend. Auberlin in that Mazda has pulled away from Eduardo Pellerano and Eduardo Dibos, who were following him in second and third earlier.
He's basically led from flag to flag so far. The car looking just as if it could do with a bit of damper work doing to it. I noticed the front end fluttering a bit as it came out of the turn 8 on acceleration. Down through the kink.
That typical Mazda engine note to it. This car used to be driven by Tom Kendall. In fact, his brother Bart drove it a couple of times, and it still wears the same paint scheme.
Well, that's one way to save money, isn't it?
Bill Auberlin is one of those guys who appreciates saving money. He runs on a very low budget, and it would be a bit of a victory for him today to sweep this category and move up in the GTU standings.
Well, certainly at the moment, nobody can stand in his way, but there's still a fair way to go in this race, so you never can start counting your chickens until they're hatched. But Bill Auberlin looks like he's having a real good run here this afternoon.
Up and over the hill goes Auberlin. We'll give you a look at the front runners, and we'll be back for more from Road America.
Ever consider leasing a car? Fine. Let me tell you about Smart Buy. Take the Oldsmobile Achieva, the car that beat Honda Accord and Toyota Camry in an independent 100,000-mile test. And now you can buy an Achieva S for just $199 a month for 36 months. So stop by anytime. It's your choice.
If you can't wait, you need the News Weekly of Motoring, Auto Week. If you can't wait for driving impressions, get Auto Week. Auto Week drives them all and tells you about them first. If you can't wait for car news, get Auto Week. Auto Week covers it all. The great old cars, the auto shows. Auto Week's columnists are controversial and fast. And if you can't wait for racing news, get the News Weekly of Motoring. Auto Week races to bring you the winningest coverage first. If you can't wait, get Auto Week, the News Weekly of Motoring, now. Call 1-800-828-4100 for a full year. 52 issues at the special TV price of $19.95. Just 38 cents an issue. Save $80 off the cover price. You've thought about it. Stop waiting. Do it now. Call 1-800-828-4100 for the News Weekly of Motoring.
Paul Newman brings his class and style from the screen to the track. He joins legendary heroes of racing in Jazzed Up Jags. Bassmasters on Saturday Night Thunder, live at 8 Eastern on ESPN.
Back at Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, the skies continue to darken as Manuel Reuter brings the Joest Racing Porsche 962 around in the lead. 6 cylinders, water-cooled, twin-turbocharged. The Porsche 962 has come a long way since its introduction in the early 1980s.
Well, it is an absolutely magnificent long-distance car to drive. It always has been. It's easy to drive. It's got great systems. It has very few vices. In fact, virtually no vices at all. It's just a little bit outdated now.
Onto the pit lane comes Paul Gentilozzi from Lansing, Michigan, leader of the Rocket Sports Oldsmobile team, 4th overall in the race, 2nd in the Exxon GTS class to Scott Pruitt. Marty Reed is standing by in the pit lane once again.
Paul Gentilozzi brings the number 3 Rocket Sports Oldsmobile to a stop, and they are having communication problems. The guys in the car are having a tough time hearing the instructions. I think they wanted him in as much as 1 lap earlier, and on a 4-mile course, if you're running low on fuel, that can be a real hassle. Now, the brakes on this car, not nearly as bad as they were on Brassfield. They checked them, but it looks like everything's going to be okay. It'll be a 4-tire stop and fuel, and Gentilozzi will be back underway.
And he will remain second to his teammate Scott Pruitt after Tom Kendall's pit stop. Kendall runs back in the number 7 slot right now, 7th overall, that is, 3rd in the Exxon Supreme GTS category. Fueling is done. You see the crewman gesturing Gentilozzi back out into the pit lane.
I tell you, when you're sitting in the driver's seat, even though you've got to say a fairly substantial position like he has, that fuel just seems to go on forever. You keep thinking, boy, they must have got this thing full of fuel by now. What are they doing, you know? But in reality, lead just a few seconds. Going through turn 1 there, fairly circumspectly on his new tyres. 84 down at turn 8 again, our favourite turn. Ooh, look at his right front wheel. He's got a big trouble.
Eduardo Dibos with the same problem we saw Reed Kreider have earlier. Off at that corner, and then you come up with the right front deranged. Now, he doesn't go off the racetrack as Kreider did. But now the telltale smoke beginning to pour from the wheel well.
Well, he's going quite fast, considering I assume he knows the wheel's about to part company from the vehicle.
Eduardo Dibos from Lima, Peru. He used to race karts against Roberto Guerrero, the IndyCar driver, did Eduardo Dibos, one of 10 brothers who run the family business down in Lima, but the only one of them that goes racing. I doubt that he's going to be able to get that Mazda around to the pit lane. And look at the smoke haze on the backstretch. Meanwhile, here comes Parker Johnstone. He'll have to make a driver change. Here's Marty Reed.
Well, Parker Johnstone has brought the lead Acura to a stop. He'll finally get out. He did the double shift. Now, remember, this guy is a real physical fitness fanatic, so it'll be interesting to see how hot and bothered he was because of the conditions. Dan Marvin will finish this race. He's in the car right now getting strapped in. 4 tires have been changed. They're having a little problem with the left rear. The fuel's still going in. All tires are now set. Fuel, and Marvin is hooked up. They're ready to go. Great stop for the Acura team.
But not good enough, Marty. While you were speaking, we saw Bob Shader go by on the number 9 Uniden Motorola Cellular Acura Spice. There he is. Bob's out front, and in the background, one of the Olivetti Oldsmobiles. I don't know if it was the Exxon GTS car or the GTO, but there are sparks and maybe flame out the back of that car.
And certainly a lot of smoke. There's a 76 car of O'Connell.
Now, that was Darren Brassfield, who continues to have problems. He may have set the brake discs on fire or something like that. Now, here's Dan Marvin with one victory at Road America to his credit, trying to preserve this one for his teammate Parker Johnstone. Now, here comes Eduardo Dibos. I can't believe it. He made it all the way around.
Boy, he did make it all the way around, because he had to come right from turn 8 back here. That's about 3 miles.
Whoa. Oops, now there's Jack Lewis in that GTU Porsche 911. We saw him earlier in the show. As I mentioned, the 911 once the backbone of the Camel GT series. The entire field used to be 911s. We've got more pit lane action. Once again, here's Marty.
Bob Shader hits the mark. Now, this is the second place Acura. This pit crew has its work cut out for it. They are just a few pits away from the number 49 of Parker Johnstone and Dan Marvin. They saw the time that those guys turned in. Now, Bob Earl is getting back into the car. Remember, he did the first shift. Shader did the second. Tires are done. Earl is almost completely strapped in. Doors down. All they're waiting for is fuel, and he's out of here.
And here comes Dan Marvin to retake the lead in the Camel Lights class. And so now, with all due respect to Bob Shader, the faster guy, Bob Earl, is in the car, and he will race out there to try to do battle with Dan Marvin. 2 different driver strategies there. Dan Marvin had his teammate Parker Johnstone take the first 2 before he got in, whereas Bob Earl drove 1 shift, as you heard Marty say, got out and got back in. Now that wild Le Mans Jaguar's in the pits. Marty.
The Jaguar XJ220 with Jay Cochran and Davy Jones in for its last routine stop. And Cochran has climbed back into this car. Jones did the middle shift. They're adding some fluids. This car is ready to go. And they will put it down and get back underway. Remember, the only car in its class here at Road America.
Distinctive sound of a V6 turbo engine in the Jaguar. You saw them adding, I guess that was oil, David.
I suspect it was oil, and that certainly is an exciting car to drive, but probably not quite as exciting as this one here at Manuel Reuter.
Manuel Reuter would certainly agree with that. He is inch perfect as he goes through the carousel. We'll be back for more from Road America.
Come on, let's get a cold one.
Our total attendance for today's game.
Oh, would you look at this beer line? I'm going to go back. What? Foul ball? No, I'm not. Foul ball!
Foul ball? Out of the way! I got it!
If you want great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down,
Make it 2 Bud Lights, please.
make it a Bud Light.
Hey, you got another ball?
After you shave, now there's comfort to the power of 3. It's new Soothing Edge Aftershave with 3 soothing formulas for 3 specific skin types. An aloe formula that's alcohol-free to soothe sensitive skin. Extra moisturizers to soothe if your skin is dry. And a cool vitamin E splash for normal skin. Soothing better than ever with the power of 3. New Edge Aftershave Skincare for men. Ultimate comfort. That's the Edge.
Son of a gun protectant. Nothing works better on your car's leather, vinyl, and rubber. It can turn just about anything into a great-looking car.
Nice car.
What, this pile of junk?
Give it the gun with Son of a Gun. And now give your tires a quick kick with one-step tire care.
Back at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, Manuel Reuter leads the Piggly Wiggly Grand Prix of Road America. We want to remind you, coming up August 8th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific, the Winston Cup cars, the Budweiser at the Glen, live. Bob Jenkins, Benny Parsons, Ned Jarrett, the award-winning ESPN Winston Cup announce team will have the Budweiser at the Glen. Right now, Manuel Reuter has had things all his way here at Road America since the get-go. He has led from pole from the beginning. There is his teammate, John Paul Jr., who's gone around in a cloud of dust.
Yes, that's the third time we've had a little incident from John Paul Jr. this afternoon. He spun up the road at turn 8, ran into the back of somebody and duffed up the nose and had another spin down there.
Moving slowly, maybe a flat tire. There you see him off the dirt and back onto the runoff area. Can't see any change there. He's got the left front locked up. But it appears that a tire is down.
Yes,
he will head for the pit lane.
Yeah, you can see that's down the back.
Right rear tire, it looks like, from here.
Well, that obviously went down, I would say, before the spin, not after. So that is a good enough reason for me. But John Paul had that spin. A bit unfortunate, having had 2 other incidents already. The last thing he needs is another one to slow him up more. But still hanging on to that second spot at the moment.
A very solid second spot. He will not lose it unless something goes wrong during this pit stop. It appears to be all they will do aside from topping up the fuel. The former overall series champion. Keep in mind, he's driving what is essentially a very strange car to him. He was drafted into this team at the last moment. Yes, it's a Porsche. Yes, it's a race car, and a good race driver will be able to handle just about anything. But he has set down a blistering pace here and has turned into a very capable number 2 for the Joest team to Manuel Reuter today. Oh, a little trouble getting the fuel hose out.
And off he goes again to rejoin the fray. Still in that good second place. There's the 31 car spun around.
To the GTO category. Now, we understand that we are getting droplets of rain on the backside. David, you mentioned it's a big racetrack, and you can see it right there under the bridge. Now someone else is off. That is Scott Pruitt, the leader in the Exxon GTS category.
Well, this is down at turn 5. Now, it rained this morning in warm-up, so the track is not completely fresh, but a bit of a sprinkling on rain after they've been racing as long as they have, and even Tommy Kendall goes round at Canada Corner. So, yes, it must be getting very slick out there.
Tommy,
when you can't see the rain is when it's slickest of all. You just got that fine patina of rain on top of the oil and tires, and boy, oh boy, they get real slick.
Now there you see one of the Oldsmobiles going by, as well as Dan Marvin, the leader in Camel Lights. So Tommy Kendall loses a position. That was Paul Gentilozzi going by. So Tommy was up as high as 5th. He will now drop back to 7th overall and 3rd in the category. Now there is another of the Oldsmobiles. That's Darren Brassfield.
Darren Brassfield spun off at turn 5 like somebody else, and he spun around and obviously stalled it. You can see all that black smoke coming out. When these cars stall, they really load up and get really, really rich.
And you can see raindrops on the lens of the camera. It's very wet at that corner. There's another look at the very end of Darren Brassfield's spin. Scott Pruitt, his teammate, did everything he could to avoid a spin there, and it looks as though Brassfield may have killed the motor.
Well, he didn't have it killed, but then he had it started, and it died again on him. So that's, I don't know what happened there, but he was very lucky not to tag the guardrail, too. As you saw, it just came up just a few inches short of the rail.
Now, there is Dan Marvin in the carousel. This is where the wet part of the racetrack begins. Marvin from Berkeley, California, and he pulls right up behind. That's the Exxon GTS car of Kent Painter. Well, that's a dangerous move on what could be a very wet racetrack. Parker Johnstone got out of this car, and he is standing by now in the pit lane with Marty Reed.
double shift. Tell me about the fatigue factor. The clouds obviously helped.
Well, it really did, because here at Elkhart Lake, you can have the humidity soar and drop in a matter of moments, but the car was so easy to drive, and I was really thinking after a Watkins Glen problem that we had of 3 hours. So I caught Bob Earl in the Bricks car, passed him, and said, nah, this is a little too hard, using the car a little too much, backed off, let him go, and then we recaught him, went for the lead. Car's running great. The pace, I think, probably will get us a checkered flag without any problem, and the Acura Comtech team has got its fingers crossed, because we always qualify on the pole, lead this race, and then so this year we didn't even qualify, so hopefully that's a turn of fortune for us.
Parker Johnstone, the leader in the run for the Camel Lights Championship. If he wins it, it would be his third. Here's a nice mix of cars. Charles Morgan in the GTO Oldsmobile.
Well, sports car there of Evans, and has got the front end deranged a bit. I don't know whether that just happened in this rain. All of them taking it very carefully through 5 because, of course, Darren Brassfield's there to get the yellow flag just up the road a few yards.
You also saw the Jaguar XJ220 in the Invitational GT. You also saw the Camel Lights car. And the race leader, the number 7 right there at the back of that train, that is Manuel Reuter.
And there's the Exxon GTO leader just being passed there, the number 47 car of Charles Morgan, still leading that class. Right behind him is the XJ220 of Jay Cochran.
And Manuel Reuter rifles around the outside of Andy Evans. This is the wet part of the track. We'll be back with more from an increasingly damp Road America. Stay with us.
Didn't I see you with a Honda dealer yesterday? Yeah, you were looking at that Accord. Well, you should know that in an independent 100,000-mile test, the Oldsmobile Achieva beat the Accord. And now you can buy an Achieva S with air, automatic, anti-lock brakes, and more for just $199 a month for 36 months. It's your choice.
Okay, 3 reasons not to buy BF Goodrich TA tires. The only hairpins you're comfortable with are the ones your grandmother uses. You get white knuckles on a dime store pony. You think 55 miles an hour is quite fast enough, thank you. BF Goodrich TA tires when you're ready to get serious.
See great athletic feats at this year's most important international amateur sporting event, the World University Games. Tomorrow afternoon, live on ESPN.
We are back at Road America. Bob Barsha, David Hobbs, and Marty Reed with you. Here comes race leader Manuel Reuter, about to put another lap on GTU class leader Bill Auberlin.
Doesn't seem to be going too slowly down that curve. He's just back straight there into Canada corner. Looks like he's braking pretty late and hard to me, so maybe it's not quite as slippery as it was before. It's hard to tell, though.
Had rain on the backstretch. There is Darren Brassfield, who spun off and apparently decided that discretion would be the better part of valor today. He had trouble with his brakes all day long. He started on pole in the Exxon Supreme class. Now he is out. Here comes his teammate, Scott Pruitt, presently the class leader, in for his pit stop, what will undoubtedly be his last stop of the day. Now the pace car is coming out. We mentioned the rain. That is for Darren Brassfield's car, but there are other cars littering the course as well after that brief shower dampened the backstretch. A good opportunity for Scott Pruitt to get all the pit work he needs done and get back onto the racetrack, preserving his position at the head of the category. Now, here is our leader, Manuel Reuter. He probably has another stop in his future. Now would be a great time to take it.
Because the thing about caution flags is you never know quite how long they're going to go on, especially if you've driven around the track like these guys have, and you've seen a few cars scattered around and you think they're going to pick them all up. Sometimes it's as well to wait towards the end of the caution period rather than just come in right at the beginning of it.
There you see the Joest Racing pits. They are apparently ready for him to come in, and here comes the race leader. Manuel Reuter in the pit lane. Oh, there goes Scott Pruitt out. A moment of high drama here. There's Marty Reed.
The number 7 lead Porsche with Manuel Reuter at the wheel comes in for his final stop. And there will be a driver change. John Winter will finally climb behind the wheel. He is well rested. He's been chomping at the bit. He'll take it the rest of the way as the Joest Porsche team is now running 1-2.
John Winter, the wealthy German lumber baron. Real name Louis Krages, but he raced under the name John Winter for many years, so his family wouldn't know about it. And then, lo and behold, he won the 24 Hours of Le Mans, driving for German Reinhold Joest. After that, it becomes a little bit difficult to put your picture in the papers with a pen name under it.
Yes, but certainly can't carry the pace of Emmanuel Reuter as we go back to the 5 car of Darren Brassfield being... He's awfully bald for a young man, don't you think? And there we see John Winter stalling the car in pit lane. That's a good start, John. But he's going to get it out. And, having had a 2-lap lead handed to him by his teammate, he can take the finish, hopefully.
There's Darren Brassfield back behind the wheel of his car as it is towed off of the racetrack. He is done for the day. While we have a moment, let's take a quick look at the local scenery. We sent our intrepid ambiance reporter, Marty Reed, out into the countryside to take a look at what most interested him. And as it turned out, the thing that most interested Marty Reed here in the land of the bratwurst is track food. Here's Marty.
Normally, when you mention racetrack food, your stomach sort of growls, your eyes sort of get this teary-eyed effect to them, and you have this reluctance to eat anything. But that's not the case at Road America. In fact, traditionally, it is voted either at the top or the very top of all the racetracks around the country for the quality of their food, especially their brats. It's one of those assignments where Buffet Benny Parsons should be here to handle this cuisine.
Grab some water. Double dry.
Road America is the one track that you can be guaranteed of no complaints as far as the food's concerned. So, guys, if you'll excuse me, I've been working a little hard today, so can I get a brat, please?
Sure can. Will that be a single or double?
No, single. I don't want these guys picking on me about how much I eat.
Oh, okay.
I like Benny Parsons. I don't want to look like Benny Parsons.
Okay.
Sorry, Benny. Buddy.
Well, not only the track, of course, but away from the track as well, at that world-famous resort of Seepkins, where all sorts of personalities can be found, and even ESPN commentators working behind the bar.
Marty Reed, telephone for you. It's Buffet Benny. You better not show up at the Budweiser or the Glen, pal.
Let's do a comparison. Six Flags and Disneyland. Both have fantasy fun for kids and adults, but only Six Flags has heart-pounding rides like Ninja, the Black Belt of roller coasters. Both have great water adventures, but only Six Flags has Thunder River. Both feature great shows, but only Six Flags has the new Batman stunt show with explosive action, electrifying stunts, and all those wonderful toys. So if you can make it to Disneyland this week, come to the theme park that's bigger than Disneyland. Six Flags over Georgia. The world of fun, not a world away.
A picture is said to be worth 1,000 words. Look closely at this picture. See the pain? See the frustration? Enough tears, Atlanta. When one dies, one is jailed. 2 lives ruined, many lives impacted. Enough tears. Stop the violence.
It's a perfect night for the perfect game at the Rocky Mountain Senior Open. Then the high-powered punches of heavyweights Jesse Ferguson and Rocky Papelli ignite top-ranked boxing.
Knockdown Thursday, ESPN. Hey!
Back at Road America, where the rain has stopped, the lights are off on the Chevy Corvette pace car, and we are getting set to go back under green. John Winter has taken over for race-long leader Manuel Reuter, but still in the leading car in the Exxon Supreme GTS category, Scott Pruitt.
Pace car pulls off into the pit road, and John Winter lets that mighty poise power him up that hill here at Road America as Jim Sidley waves the green flag, and John Winter hopefully will be able to stay in the lead for the remainder of this race.
Here comes the sister car, the number 77, still being driven by John Paul Jr. He is 2 laps down in second place, and here is the third place car overall, as well as the leader in the Exxon GTS category, Scott Pruitt.
Looking a bit twitchy there going around turn 1 because he was way offline to get around Mark Bulgaro in that GTO car.
John Winter from Bremen, Germany, leading John Paul Jr. We have an interesting situation here now in that numbers 1 and 2 in points, Juan Fangio and P.J. Jones, are not racing today. Giampiero Moretti and Derek Bell, numbers 2 and 3, as you watch GTU leader Bill Auberlin making his final pit stop. Moretti and Bell are out of the competition when their Nissan blew up. John Paul Jr. is 5th, and with a runner-up finish today, he will move up to challenge Moretti and Bell in the standings. And of course, there are thousands of dollars in purse money at stake in the final point fund.
So pretty unfortunate for Moretti and Bell this afternoon, to say the least. And very fortunate for this young man, John Paul. This drive came available to him just right at the last minute.
Paul Jr. through the corner. Now here comes Scott Pruitt, and with the help of that yellow flag, he has managed to close right up on the race leaders, and I believe that was his teammate, Paul Gentilozzi, just behind.
Yeah, I must say that Scott Pruitt is wheeling that Exxon car around here at a great rate of knots this afternoon, hanging on to John Paul Jr. as they go down that back straight. As you said earlier, these cars, these GTS cars, really are nearly as fast as the GTP cars in a straight line. But even so, around the track, can't usually hold them lap for lap. But on the other hand, this afternoon, Scott Pruitt really giving that car a tremendous demonstration run.
Now, he is 1 lap down to Paul Jr., but you can see that the speed differential between the cream of the Exxon GTS category and the frontline GTP cars is not that great.
Now, there you can see the 3 sign being waved. That's Paul Gentilozzi, and I suspect that they're trying to tell Scott Pruitt to let Paul Gentilozzi catch up and probably pass him, because when all's said and done, Gentilozzi's in here for the championship points, and of course Scott Pruitt is just guesting this weekend.
And with Darren Brassfield, the regular co-driver to Gentilozzi, out of the race, they're going to want Scott Pruitt's points, but they do not want him to beat his teammate, Paul Gentilozzi.
Right at the moment, he almost looks like he could overtake and get in front of John Paul Jr. Not that it would help him much because he's a couple of laps behind him, but even so, a pretty impressive drive.
And the tip of the helmet to John Winter. At this point, Paul Jr. not making great inroads into Winter's lead. Winter just getting up to speed, just having gotten into the car, which is another handy thing to have if you're Reinhold Joest, a guy with some money who has good driving skills. It doesn't hurt the race car.
Exactly, yeah. He's certainly got plenty of dosh. There's no doubt about that.
Now here comes Paul Gentilozzi in that second black Oldsmobile Cutlass, moving up to join his teammate Scott Pruitt. It'll be interesting to see if Pruitt just lets him go by. Onto the back stretch here. Speeds up around 180, 190 miles an hour.
This is down into that kink. Very, very fast right-hand bend. Onto the Kettle Moraine back straight, they call it. As you can see, it's not really very straight. Down into Canada corner. Very slow right-hand corner. Can get awfully slippery down there because there's a lot of trees over it, and they tend to sort of leak onto the track or something. Swooping to this right and left-hand sweep under the bridge. There's those new blue barrels that have been put there since Paul Tracy went off last year, and nearly climbed that guardrail into some spectator cars, which have all been pushed back a long way this year. That's one big change they made at Road America.
Now we have a pit stop. John Paul Jr. dives into the pits. Now this is interesting because he already stopped once after he had that right rear tire go down. So John Paul Jr., at least in theory, should not need a pit stop right now. Let's get down to Marty Reed in the Joest pits.
The second place Joest Porsche back in. Again, this is water. They are having an overheating problem. They are pumping this thing full of fluid, trying to get John Paul Jr. to the finish line. They are running in second place behind the number 7.
Putting some oil in there in the back engine cover. Obviously, you have to inject water into an engine when it's running at this temperature. Otherwise, you can't just take the cap off and
And meanwhile, while we were in the pits, Paul Gentilozzi slipped past Scott Pruitt. That is Gentilozzi now coming into your picture. He takes over the lead in the Exxon Supreme category, although he is still a couple of laps down to the race-leading Porsches in third place overall. Pruitt let him go by on the front straightaway, which is really the safest place to do it.
Absolutely. So I guess Scott Pruitt will just follow the team leader home now. Darren Brassfield, unfortunately, the third one of these cars already out of the race, had brake problems all the time, but as you said earlier, probably a bit relieved anyway because of his back problem.
And relieved to see that the team will not suffer any losses in points, as Scott Pruitt is there to hold up team honor behind Paul Gentilozzi. Down the midfield straightaway. We'll take a quick timeout and return in just a moment.
My customers look to me, to True Value, for something they can't get in those big warehouse stores. They know I'll take time to answer their questions, and I've got the right products. Real True Values.
Like the July Hardware Value of the Month. A Doscasil 14-inch cord wheel. It gets rid of tangles on everything from extension cord to flat hose and holds up to 150 feet of 16-gauge wire. It's just $277 while quantities last.
You know, the name says it all. True Value.
He doesn't like power breakfast. He'll take a pass on poetry. Deep down, he's a grown-up Boy Scout. Way grown. He likes feeling clean and cool and very male. And he knows how to get there. Where have you guys been? Brute. Men are back.
You can see it in their eyes. They're pushing to raise the benchmark of quality. And after 3 million miles of testing, the people of Exxon know Phase 4 gasoline offers the highest level of engine cleaning, all for one reason. For proven high performance you can rely on.
Let the tiger set you free. Rely on the tiger.
Back at Road America, where John Winter has taken over the lead from teammate Manuel Reuter driving the number 7 Joest Racing Porsche. This car has led from the green flag, and the laps are beginning to run down here in the closing moments of the Piggly Wiggly Grand Prix of Road America.
John Winter taking it very carefully now. He's got a big lead, doesn't want to make any mistakes, and needs to keep that car in the lead. It'll be great for Reinhold Joest. He's been a big supporter of American racing. As you said earlier on, won the Daytona 24-hour race a few years back and has won so many races here in North America. He likes coming here, and he spends a lot of time in Florida. So this gives him a good excuse to spend a lot of time here in the States. Down to Canada corner, under the trees. No rain now, I don't think, as John Winter steers his car carefully up through the S's under the bridge. Yeah, lifting off quite a bit there. He's really taking care.
Now there's the leader in the Camel Lights category, Dan Marvin, who has taken over from teammate Parker Johnstone, the two-time defending class champion. He is running presently in 5th place overall, behind the 2 Porsches up front, followed by the 2 leaders in the Exxon Supreme GTS category.
And there, of course, is 2nd place in the Camel Light, not very, very far behind him, which is Bob Earl, who in fact has pulled some time back, I think, on Dan Marvin. There's the 2 leaders in the GTO class, sorry, in the GTS class, and Dan Marvin there, using up all the road there, because he's got to keep going along here to keep away from Bob Earl, who's catching him up. There's Bob Earl just coming into view now.
Bob Earl, once a member of the Nissan GTP team that carried Jeff Brabham to 4 straight drivers' titles in the Camel GT. They have tested and massaged their car into shape. They say they will do no more testing as they run to the end of the schedule in Camel GT competition. There's nothing they would like more than to pick up their 2nd victory. In fact, their 2nd in a row. They won the most recent round at Watkins Glen, New York, looking for their 2nd straight.
And Bob Earl using all the road there available down in turn 5 too, because he can see Dan Marvin in front of him now, and that's always a big spur for a driver to be able to see your immediate competition. And they have really raced long and hard over this long race here on a long track, and to be that close at the end. This is a really, really tight race.
You had a brief glimpse behind Bob Earl of Johnny O'Connell in that GTS Nissan 300ZX twin turbo. He is running well back in the class, still trying to recover from their huge crash at Watkins Glen.
He is running back in the class, but if he finishes there, he'll be in 5th, which will for the first time put him ahead of Steve Millen, his teammate, who unfortunately is languishing at the moment in hospital as the two Exxon GTS cars weave their way through the Exxon GTO cars here. Still a lot of traffic around and still a lot of doogie out, even though we're coming down to the real closing laps of this race.
Winter through the final corner and up over the brow of this hill. He can't see some of those cars up ahead of him.
They couldn't see him either.
That's right. That's Kent Painter in that number 2 GTS car.
Kent Painter's already had a bit of a run-in with his teammate, John Paul Jr., so he won't be high on the Joest popularity list this afternoon. Oh, now he's going to run to the back of him.
This is the final lap. 4 miles to go, and that is a considerable distance.
Oh, Kent Painter looking like he's got a bit of a problem there.
Put 2 wheels off on the left side. He's back on. And more traffic. Looks like Bill Auberlin, the GTU class leader, right there, about to be put another lap down by the GTP class leaders.
Downhill approach, the old turbocharger there, spitting out flame. Ooh, I'm not sure I'd have done it if I'd been John Winter at this stage of the race. Cut in front of that GTU car, then brake hard for turn 5. GTP car has much greater braking power than the GTU, and he doesn't know at this stage of the race whether maybe Auberlin's car's got a problem with the brakes anyway. No point putting yourself into a dangerous area like that. Down to turn 8. This is where we've seen so many people spin off this afternoon, do a bit of grass cutting, including John Paul Jr.
I suppose in John Winter's defense, after you've been sitting in the pit lane all day watching Manuel Reuter go ripping around, once you have an opportunity to put the pedal down in one of these Porsches, you're going to want to do it.
You want to pass somebody sometime.
That's right. My God, I want to go out and pass folks.
Down to the kink. Backing off there. 5th gear. Still very, very quick. These cars developing at that stage, at that speed, probably developing nearly 2,000 pounds of downforce.
Heading for Canada Corner. Seen a lot of spins and crashes here today, including 2 of the preeminent names in the GTS category, Darren Brassfield and Tom Kendall. Once more under the bridge. 1 corner remaining for John Winter before he will claim victory for Reinhold Joest and the Porsche 962, the first victory for this car since 1991.
Now I wonder who won this race in 1983.
Somebody we know, I'm sure.
There's the Joest team, clapping their driver. Had a lot of wins over the years, has Reinhold Joest.
And so he will go into the record books claiming what may be the last victory for another few years for the Porsche 962. In fact, perhaps the last ever. As you watch Charles Morgan, the GTO leader, recall that the IMSA Camel GT Series will go to the new World Sports Car category in future years. And so we may not see Porsche 962s beginning in 1994. Second victory in 3 starts in the GTO category for Charles Morgan. He will take the lead in the Exxon GTO Championship. And well done. 2 victories and a 2nd place finish for Charles Morgan in 3 starts. It's hard to beat that. Paul Gentilozzi will take the Exxon Supreme GTS victory, and we'll be back to sum things up in just a moment.
Bud Light, please.
Tonight's ladies' night, and there's a special on Bud Light.
If you want great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light.
Oh, no, it's Ted from accounting.
I really didn't want my husband to color his gray hair.
But then I discovered this, the hair coloring called Just for Men.
And now he looks better than ever.
Simply apply Just for Men, and in 5 minutes, rinse. Just for Men blends away the gray for a totally natural look. No wonder 8 out of 10 women prefer the Just for Men look to the gray look.
It's like you took off 10 years.
And in just 5 minutes.
Just for Men. She'll love the way you look.
The new Toyo 800 Plus all-season touring radial is Toyo's finest tire, designed for superior driving comfort, a very quiet ride, and long tread life. The Toyo 800 Plus comes with an 80,000-mile warranty.
Now, we've got to admit, Michelin offers a similar warranty, and so does Bridgestone. 3 superb tires. So, what's the difference? See your nearby Toyo dealer, and he'll explain. Gladly. Toyo tires, driven to perform.
This ESPN Speed World presentation has been brought to you by Oldsmobile and by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. The Victory Lane celebrations are underway here at Road America. Here's a look at our top 5 performers. Let's get down to Marty Reed with our winner, John Winter.
Well, we're down here with John Winter getting congratulations from the crew. It's been a long time. Daytona 1991, the last time Joest Porsche or the Porsche Mark made it to Victory Lane.
Yeah, I think it was 2.5 years ago. And we were very happy for Porsche and for the Joest people and for everybody who's on that car that we won a race again. And it showed up on the track. I didn't know where to go to the winner's circle.
Yeah, you sort of went blistering past. They had to back you up. Let me ask you about the track itself, the course conditions, the heat especially. If the sun would have been out, would the heat really have become a major critical factor to drivers?
No, I think we are 2 drivers on the car, and I think when the sun is out, it's no big problem because we can make driver change. But doing it alone on a Porsche like John Paul did it's a very, very good job.
Congratulations, guys. Great job.
Congratulations indeed to John Paul Jr. on a yeoman drive today. Parker Johnstone has broken his Road America jinx. Marty Reed is standing by with our Camel Lights winners.
Well, down in Victory Lane with Camel Lights champions, and they didn't know where Victory Lane was because it's been a while since you guys toured this facility up front.
Well, the last few years, we've gotten the pole, we've led the race, and Dan and I figured between the two of us over the last 2 years, we've lost this race 4 times. And so we were pretty bound and determined to make up for past indiscretions and get this thing to the checkered flag first. And the Acura Comtech team did a great job all weekend. It's one of the few races ever that we've not qualified on the pole, but it just gave us that more incentive during the race. And from our Watkins Glen mishap, we were a little more conservative in the beginning. Got the car back in the lead. Dan took it in the lead and took it to the checkered flag and did a fantastic job.
Let's go back to Watkins Glen because that's the last race. Timing chain comes loose. You guys are a DNF. Then you come here. The valve spring drops. Tell me the truth now that it's over. What was the confidence level like before the race?
Well, I like it this way a lot better. We'll get the bad luck out of the way early and save the good luck for the race. The confidence level was just fine. You know, those are things that happen in racing, and it really did nothing to take away from the Comtech Acura crew. They did a terrific job as always, and you know, slide another motor into it, and let's go racing tomorrow.
Congratulations, guys. Good job.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Dan Marvin and Parker Johnstone, your Camel Lights winners. In the Exxon Supreme GTS category, the Oldsmobile team leader was victorious, and he's standing by now with Marty.
Paul Gentilozzi, some days it pays to be the boss.
Well, this was one of those days when a team really makes a big difference, and today Team Oldsmobile was the difference. I don't know that I could have run Scott Pruitt down there at the end. I had a little bit better car, but Scotty's a world-class driver, and it was a real-class move for him to let me by. We had Kendall by 30 seconds, and we were leaving him, so there wasn't any debate that an Oldsmobile was going to win the race. It was just the class of a guy like Scott Sharp that let us stay in the points.
Well, yeah, points are everything.
Yes, and that's really Scott's job. He's here. We needed a 1-2-3. If Darren hadn't had trouble with his car, we'd have had it, and we'd have swept for Oldsmobile. But what counts now is we're moving up on the manufacturer's points, and we showed them 3 in a row.
And the rain begins to fall.
Not too soon.
Well, I guess an old campaigner like Paul Gentilozzi can be forgiven for mixing up former Trans Am champions Scott Sharp and Scott Pruitt. Of course, it was Pruitt who led him by to take Oldsmobile's victory today. In the GTO category, Charles Morgan took his 2nd win in 3 starts, and he now has the overall points lead. Bill Auberlin led GTU in his Mazda from start to finish over Bob and Butch Leitzinger. Andy Evans came home first in the World Sports Car category. That is the future of IMSA Camel GT Racing. The Invitational GT, we rode on board today with Andy Pilgrim and John Heinrichs. And in the International GT category, the beautiful Jaguar XJ220 of Jay Cochran and Davy Jones had the class all to themselves. Here's a look at our entire final rundown from today's race. Keep in mind, with the Toyotas not here, they could have found themselves in a tighter race for the championship. But because Giampiero Moretti and Derek Bell in the Nissan broke, They were spared that, and they will retain their lead as we go to the next round of the championship at Laguna Seca, California. David Hobbs, your final thoughts.
Well, it certainly looks as if 44 cars and 8 different classes were not a problem here at Road America. Some of the faster cars probably found some of the slower cars a bit of a problem and a challenge, but even so, it does make for really good entertainment for the crowds when they come to watch these multi-class races.
This is the only series in the world where you'll watch all of these different cars in action throughout the summer, and we hope you'll be with us as we bring you the entire IMSA Camel GT Series this year. Don't forget the Budweiser at the Glen as the Winston Cup cars take to Watkins Glen, New York, Sunday, August 8th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific, live here on ESPN. I'm Bob Varsha for David Hobbs and Marty Reed. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time on the Camel GT Trail. So long for now from Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin.